it's a new chapter because we're going to start getting more information. Before we get started, I just want to remind you that tomorrow night I'm going to be looking into the Missy Beavers case. This is a real sad one. Well, they're all sad, but in this case, it could so easily be solved, in my opinion. So we're going to look at what's going on with the Missy Beavers case now, where it stands, and why it has not been solved. And we're going to look at those astrological charts. Oh, God, this case, it is a never ending case. When is it going to end? Will we get a trial in August? I've got a prediction that just came up that I just saw, and it's between June and July. So stick around because we're going to talk about that. The composite chart for Maddie Mogen and Bryan Kohberger, the alleged murderer in this case. And so what is a composite chart? Not only is it a composite chart between two people, so it gives you a chart with all of their planets midpoint, and it just gives you one chart between two people. It's a great way to see the different nuances of a relationship and what might become of it. Now let's take a look at this composite chart. Again, this is between Maddie Mogen and Bryan Kohberger if he were actually the murderer. And it's a very interesting chart because it's not their birth charts. It's actually the composite chart of their progressed charts. So this is where their charts, both of their charts were at the moment of the crime, November 13th, 2022 at 4 a.m. All right, so we're going to look at Mars as if it's a weapon. So keep that in mind. And so that's down here in the fourth house of a home. We're going to look at this chart as if it's a birth chart. And we're going to look at the ascendant as if it is the victim. So Cancer, the moon is going to be here in the 12th house. So 12th house is the bedroom. The 12th house is fallen asleep. And so this is what not only Madison was doing, but because you could see that Gemini there, it's probably going to be somebody who looks like her, is with her. So there are two people here in this chart. Now we're going to look at Kohberger as if he was Capricorn, and the Lord of Capricorn is Saturn. And so he is Saturn dressed in black. And you can see he's in Aries. So could give a profile of his name. That's something noteworthy, I think. But take a look at this big red triangle. That's a T-square right there. And we've got third house. Now, this is what is on the victim's mind. Jupiter is a boyfriend. Jupiter is a partner. And so it looks as if they're trying to get in touch with a partner, but they can't. This is an obstruction of some sort. This is a big red light. Nope, you're not going to be able to get in touch with him. The other thing, too, is the 8th house is secrets. Possibly something they were doing. They might have been online at this time, trying to, who knows what they were doing online. Maybe they were trying to connect with a boyfriend on social media somehow or in a digital way. So that's kind of happening right now between the girls in their bedroom. Generally, when we see a red line going boom to the bottom, this is somebody who falls, somebody who makes a mistake. 22 degrees, kill or be killed. He is killing at this time. He is using a knife in the 4th house, which is this home. Libra is very interesting to me. Something in the home, something that's Libra related, could be maybe an expensive knife. Sometimes Libra means expensive. Take a look at if you were to see Mars here and it's going to square Neptune, a piece of this knife, the sheath, is hidden. Neptune means it disappears. You can't see it. There's no way he would have been able to see it. And where was it? I believe it was on the bed or under the cover or under one of the victims. So it just goes poof. That's usually what happens when you see a chart with a square to Neptune. It's kind of crazy. Okay, let me check this, see if it works. Okay. Hey, Shauna, welcome in. You think it's an open? Oh, did you hear the sirens? You've got amazing. I hope it's not my ride. You've got amazing ears. Hello, Eileen. Welcome in. And so I thought this chart was really interesting for this date. Like This is actually the composite chart for this date, November 13th, 2022, this night. So you can see that this man, Capricornian, dressed in black, would fall. And also, Saturn also means someone that's deceased. So they would fall on this, this weapon or part of the weapon. Now, the other thing too is, where is the weapon? So I'd like to know, before we get into the main discussion, again, I want to know what happened to this weapon, because this is a big deal. What happened to it? I think it's probably he ditched it in the river. It sure looks like it with Neptune in Aquarius. This is a river. Possibly he wanted to put it in, and maybe there was some kind of obstruction there where he couldn't put it where he wanted to put it. I'm using some new tarot cards, and these tarot cards are from a client of mine who sent them to me. She's an artist, and they're called the Word Tarot. And if you're interested they're great for beginners and even for people who are, more advanced too. They have some incredible notations on the side of these cards. And so this is what they look like. And so I'm going to draw a card from her deck. This is Anita's deck. And she has a website and everything. Hey, Scorpio Moon, nice to see you. We can't forget how horrible this tragic crime was. But I'm going to draw a card on where the murder weapon is. We've done this before for the Idaho 4. Okay, let's see what I have here. Ace of Swords. Wow. Can you believe that I got that? That's unbelievable. Logical. So it's a logical place. Unexpected offers, surgery, injection, positive relationship. But that is so wild. Look at what's at the top of that. That's Leo. That's King Road, and the knife. So obviously I'm going to have to get a clarifier card. That is chilling. Got the Ace of Swords. That's a partner. Okay. So I'm going to get a clarifier card. That's wild. Yeah, that's a great thought. Do they have the knife? Because in these charts, you are definitely seeing, especially with like the Ted Bundy vibe and wannabe, they like to take souvenirs. So can you give us some kind of clue on where we can find this murder weapon right now? Look at this. 5 of Swords. Triangle situation, karmic situation, spiteful, arrogant. But look, it's right at the edge of a beach. Look at these cards. Aren't these amazing? She's an amazing artist. And it's WYRD if you're interested in looking them up. But it's like it's maybe on I don't want to say a beach, but right at the edge of the water, maybe. Will the murder weapon be found? How could that be? How could they find it? Looks like somebody knows where it is. And weird that he's dressed in black. King of Pentacles, that's a yes. And triumph in endeavor. So just got to keep looking, I guess. Where do we keep looking? Like, what's the key to getting the best clue to find this murder weapon that allegedly Bryan Kohberger used? Ace of Pentacles, business-minded. Looks like a coin. Someplace with a lot of money, financial gains, meet through work. So maybe a place near where he worked. We're looking for possibly a place that might have water. Is there like a river nearby or something? Near Pullman, where he works. A place where he works would be around here. South Fork in this river. So it could be in this river. South Fork. So interesting. And we do see like tourist types of clues, food. So it would make sense that there would be a river called South Fork. I like that. I like that clue. Does law enforcement, do they already have the murder weapon? in their possession? I don't think so. I don't think so. Looks like no. 8 of Cups, unhappy, restless, new path. By the way, remember the South Node is what is left behind. And this is that night, November 13th. And something was left behind, South Node, in the bed, which would be Pisces. So ninth house would be something that would show up in court or in the press. It would be reported in the press. By the way, this is Maddie Mogan's birth information. Madison's probably part of Kohberger's obsession. And so with her sun as the rule of the chart, this is me rectifying this chart, but I think it works out. The sun right next to Saturn. There's so much Gemini in her chart. And Saturn shows death. What we do though in a regular chart is if you want to see what a woman is doing in her life, you're going to look at Venus, and that's going to show the experience of, it's a pretty simple way of looking at a birth chart. And here she is, Venus in Aries. So people are at some point, and this is after 18, when you turn to Venus as a female. Before she was Jupiter. Then she moves over to Venus at 18. Then had she aged to 50, 40, 50, she would have been Saturn. It still looks like in the years following the crime, it still looks like there's going to be a lot of information about her continuing to come out even after her death. So this is kind of posthumous type of energy there. Take a look at the moon. And if she is Venus in Aries, this is someone who is at 20 degrees. There's a lot of Scorpio energy, very sexy lady. And maybe in the ninth house, there would be publications written about her continuing to be so, because she's still, even after death, she's still Venus, but squaring the moon. And so what's so interesting about this is abuse. This is abusive energy. And the moon represents the 12th house of hidden enemies. But the moon is usually feminine. So that's why it's kind of confusing a little bit seeing something like this. Sometimes with a square to the moon showing the public, it's like you get famous, but you don't want to be famous for that. There's a lot of fame that is involved with abusive themes. She's clashing with someone, a hidden enemy here, and it's female. It's just showing me it's female. So can you give us a profile on who this female is that is clashing with Madison Mogan after 18 years old? It is 2 of Pentacles reversed. So it could be maybe 2 people. It's weird that if you look at the card, it's a blonde. So maybe 2 females. Usually I would look at Mercury for that or Gemini for 2. But if you count Venus as one person and the moon as another person, that could be some kind of tiff, but could be also deadly because of the 20 degrees there. 20 is Scorpio. I thought that was kind of crazy. You can see that red line here. This is going to be the problem for Madison. Somebody she couldn't see that came out of the dark. And the moon in Cancer is someone who's very emotional, but at 23 degrees too, that is the Aquarius degree. So somebody who potentially comes out very fast. And it's a war. It's losing a war to someone. When you have a square to Aries, it's a loss. How do I get party revenge? I'm looking at Madison's birth chart. You could see the 5th house here. The 5th house is a party. And you could see a T-square here. And it's part of the 5th house, the 3rd house, and the 11th house. But what's in the 5th house? It is the scorpionic energy, that Pluto there. Pluto is revenge. So revenge for a party, and it's also opposing Jupiter. And Jupiter would be like a wannabe partner, somebody who wants revenge. There's so much revenge going on here. And we saw that with Ted Bundy too, looking at his charts, even just, listening to documentaries. There was early psychological trauma because of females that he was constantly playing out in his life. For Madison, she would see that with maybe groups of men who wanted to be her partner. I can imagine she would date people and then maybe, and I know she had a boyfriend, but before then, hard to see your ex online and looking good on social media. So I'm sure there were those themes as she was a young person. Dylan and Bethany, maybe, yeah. They sure seemed like they were friendly with each other, that they were good friends. But there's just so much going on right now talking about why on earth they would have heard screams, they would have heard a barking dog, um, they would have heard chaos, and yet they would stay in their rooms. I guess we might as well look at these cards and ask, what happened with the roommates. Why are these two roommates not responding in the way that the public thinks they should have? Why didn't they respond, quote unquote, appropriately in that situation? 10 of Pentacles, wealth, inheritance. So maybe a financial situation. We keep getting that. But strange how we keep getting confirmations with the cards. So money is definitely part of this. Now I'm looking at the synastry between Kohberger and Maddie. So if you look on the inside, this is Kohberger. I believe he's an Aries rising. So Mars is right here. This is Kohberger and happens to be in the first house of Maddie. So this is an issue because you can see that there's a square to all of these planets in the murderous sign of Scorpio. So with Mars being right there in Leo, this is a fire sign. This is extreme strength, but also so much anger, maybe even some embarrassment too. One thing I see in these charts, not just Idaho, is that we have Uranus here. Uranus and Black Moon Lilith together is a strike. And of course, this is Maddie's sun. So she's here, and all of this scorpionic energy from Kohberger is creating this T square because it seems like humiliation and embarrassment. Was there some type of episode of humiliation and embarrassment that is part of this theme in this crime? The Emperor reversed. So this could be a king, king on his head. So I don't know if I would look at that as a no. I would say someone who felt weak. Could we get a clarifier card for this? And if humiliation and embarrassment on the part of Kohberger occurred in the months leading up to this murder, death reversed, the stuck energy, wanting to move forward and not being able to. And I've seen that with Maddie's chart too, where she kind of says no. If there even was, and in my mind, I think it could have just been as benign as blocking Kohberger. But when you see all of that Leo energy, that's a roar. It's like a roar on King Road. Yes, and go ahead and hit the like button if you like these types of shows. And I guess I should get this out of the way. If you're interested in a reading, you can go to my website. It's astrologywithval.as.me. And I've got some new times available this month and next month. Yeah, I've got $20 off on a full reading. I mean, there's T-squares all over this thing. And again, this is the synastry between Madison Mogen and Bryan Kohberger. And so you can see that his planet Mars in her first house. So first house means what's around her. And this looks like just a confrontation to me. And with the 8th house, it's Kohberger's 8th house, but it's Maddie's 4th house of home. And it's in Scorpio. So it's somebody else's home. It's a rental that she's in. But here there's a T-square here again, and Neptune is part of this. We talk about drugs, we talk about addictions and all of that, but Neptune is also a video or a photo. So it could be some kind of sexy photo because you're adding scorpionic energy to Neptune online. So we may just hear some type of a story that there could have been a sexy photo online, a blocking of Kohberger, him feeling just like a psychopath and planning this murder. It looks like he planned for a long time. Now, this is Maddie Mogen's transit chart for the night of the murder. And so, what we would do is we would look at the seventh house, and the seventh house is the partner. So Uranus is going to represent partnerships. Not saying that Kohberger was a partner, but it was kind of like a wannabe partner. What we would do is we would look at Uranus right in here. And there is, can you see that? All these blue lines. It's a trine. And it's a trine to Mercury, two people. And Mars is in here too. So it looks like maybe a man that's a twin as well. And so he wants to get over to these people and he's successful in doing so. We're looking at Kohberger here, but at the same time, we've got Saturn and it is conjunct Black Moon Lilith. This is the most sinister, nefarious energy you could even think of. On top of that, then it's a square right here into her fourth house. There are a lot of people here, 4 people who are murdered in the house. So square to Scorpio with all these, the Venus, there's a female there. The thing is that all of these people are squaring Black Moon Lilith. There is a possibility that someone might see them through the lens of being sinister or of being maybe not all that nice to whoever is considering a partner of Maddie's. But I think this could potentially be Kohberger. Mars, burger, Mars means meat. Mercury is a name. And then there's the trine here to Uranus. And Uranus is in Aquarius in her chart. So super, super strong. We would also look at, we'd have to count the houses over to the 11th. So we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 5th house from the partner. And so the 5th house for him could be some kind of a party. So maybe wanting to take part in a party or some kind of 5th house type of activity. Fun, wanting to have fun. And so there it is up close. You have Saturn within 2 degrees of Black Moon Lilith in Maddie Mogen's transit chart for November 13th. This is a strike. You see Uranus a lot in these perpetrators charts. It's a fast event. It happens at the speed of light. And this is the transit chart in July. So we have Venus here. So a group of women, and this was around the time of the pool party. So there's a trine to Bryan Kohberger, and he's looking at this group of women. So Kohberger has a bunch of planets going through Maddie Mogen's chart, if that makes sense. And I really think that it started to get super intense during the summertime, even though it seems as if he had something on his mind early on in that year in 2022 that he wanted to expend these psychopathic tendencies. Okay. What's really interesting in the full chart for the July 2022 is that Saturn had been going back and forth and direct and retrograde in her 7th house. So when that happens to any of us, it's usually delays. It can be sadness. Your boyfriend can go away. Or your mate could go away. You've got to, you kind of feel maybe a little bit lonely, or your mate feels lonely. Now with this energy inside of the 7th house, it's somebody who's super sinister, and the Saturn is really activating this sinister type of energy. But Saturn also shows an older person too. So an older person coming in. And remember, this is July. Check this out. whenever you have this in your chart, you've got the nodes, and up here you've got Uranus too. This is somebody who's stuck. And it can be explosive because Uranus is in the mix there. Somebody who just is tired of feeling so stuck with maybe relationships. That is really difficult for if you see this in your 7th house, your partners or, people who want to be your partner, they're feeling really frustrated. Okay. Yeah, they definitely heard a dog barking loud and clear on the 1112 audio if Dateline source is legit. Yeah, that was pretty loud. And exactly, Toy. You just said like lightning. Shauna, you said he either felt safe or drugged enough to not bark or did bark. The layers of that house doesn't suffice 6 screams of torture, quick or not. Nothing is that quick. This is mastermind. I was reading that book, is it Ramsland? Kathleen, I purchased the book, and it's dark. It's dark. And what is so ironic about it is that she goes through different cases in history where the perpetrator is apprehended because of new advances. So first blood advances and learning the blood type. In the beginning, people didn't know whether, way back in the day, if someone had blood on their jacket, they could say, well, it's from, my sheep, or that we slaughtered last weekend. But then they started to develop ways to show that it was human blood. Then later, after that, it was fingerprints. And then after that, DNA. So, but surely Kohberger was reading that book. And so I thought that was kind of crazy that what would be happening to him is really what happened to the subjects in the book that he was reading. They were kind of, they couldn't beat the system because of the advances in technology. So definitely barked, in my opinion. The girls heard everything. Yeah. Yeah, it's a 101. All right. So here's Ted Bundy's birth chart. And just real quick, you could see Uranus up here in Gemini, which is striking groups of women who look like twins. And then you've got an opposition to all of the Sag, which is a college or higher learning institution. So that's in his birth chart. Now, Mars is when a man is between 18 and about 40. And so this was really in the mix here. With Mars conjunct the South Node, this is someone who is in despair. And so it's possible that psychologically he needed to strike in order to uh, kind of wake himself out of this maybe feeling of being in a nightmare. But keeping in mind that once he got older, he would turn to Saturn. He was starting to get older. And in the 12th house, that would be jail. So that would definitely take place. And retrograde, he couldn't do what he wanted to do anymore. He wasn't strong enough anymore. He was just kind of hidden. He was behind bars. And by the way, you can also see that Ted Bundy with this blue triangle with Uranus, this is an escape from prison. So he had a couple of escape attempts, and Neptune is to disappear from prison. So he had it in his birth chart that he was able to disappear. Now with his, and I'm not going to labor on Ted Bundy, but since we were talking about it, and it's being talked about with the revelations in the Dateline episode. This is Ted Bundy's progressed 1974 chart, right around the time of the Chi Omega murders. Now, Virgo always seems to be in the mix for some reason. Sometimes it's like, well, what are they doing? Well, they're cleaning a crime scene. So it's to clean, it's to be critical. It might feel like the person is being criticized. But here we have, Uranus way up at the top on the MC, a strike, and coming way down and falls. So this is a ton of energy right here, but it has to do with Sagittarius. So this is, a car. This is a famous car. Mercury and Moon is a famous car. Um, Sag is a library. Again, it's a college, but the college itself comes crashing down because of his attack. It was an attack, which is also Uranus. And with Gemini, it's a group of attacks. It's all at the same time. Okay. So here is the prediction I have for Kohberger and the whole case. Now, where are we right now? We're in the May 10th area of the solar return chart of the crime. Okay. And so we're going to start getting into this territory very soon once May 13th comes around. So we're going to start this chart on November 13th. Now, what's really interesting is that Mars is coming in, and this is basically the weapon. So you could see that the weapon is here. Could also be the Perp himself. But you could see a blue line that goes down into Neptune and the Moon and North Node. This could be a place that it could be like an Indian reservation. It could be a body of water. It could be a famous body of water. So there might be some new information in May about the weapon, or something that happened, maybe Mars blood on King Road, which is Leo. But here is, I highlighted this here. This is going to come in this area between June 13th. I'm going to say it's probably the end of June to mid-July. There's something pretty substantial coming in this case. And we have the moon that represents Kohberger. It's the 7th house lord, and it falls. So it seems like something happens. I don't know what it is. It could be that there's some kind of, it is in the 2nd house. But it's sort of like there's something that's stuck. Let's see what it is. Let me use the cards here. This is coming in at the end of June to mid-July. There's going to be some seriously big news about Kohberger. And it might not happen. It might actually be happening like in July, but then we have to get to the 9th house, which would be August. So it could happen as late as August. And obviously that's the trial. But we're talking about a major news announcement. It is something nobody is expecting. This is something we need to pay attention to. What's going to happen to Kohberger around this time that we're looking at? End of July. Is it end of July? No, end of June to mid-July. What's going to happen to Kohberger? Star reversed. Yeah, so it's some kind of a fall. So he loses hope. And it also says no success. So interesting that the star is blonde too. So star reversed. Maybe there's more evidence coming in court somehow, but he just keeps losing here and probably is in despair during that month. Okay. And the other thing too is part of this, time period in the solar return, there's a woman here and there's a clash. Now, this could be the older woman. I don't know if this is Kathleen Ramsland, the author. I'm not sure if that's her, but it could be a dark-skinned woman, but somebody is coming in, and it seems like it's going to be a problem for Kohberger. So we're going to have to see who that is, but Venus and Capricorn. So remember that one. She's going to be part of this. So So basically, that is all of my predictions. A female coming in, some major news that shows that Kohberger is in serious, serious despair. And I mean, that's imminent, I think. And then also something about in the next 4 weeks, maybe um, the the weapon. Yeah, I know, Shauna. Fall Guy. Yeah, Fall Guy. Definitely Native American themes in the charts. Yeah. Um, yes, the Indian lake or location. You're not going to give up on the YYY? Yep. Yeah, definitely Native American. So I've always thought Bundy was his mentor. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about Bundy. But we're definitely going to be seeing some new information. I mean, all of that coming out with Dateline and the hooded figure. I mean, it's really going to turn, it's bad news, I think, for the defense. It's going to turn a jury seeing that photo of him looking like a murderer and then seeing, of course, his search history. So that woman who was that tarot reader, so much with her still, I feel, yeah. Oh, there's going to be, Dateline talked about her, the Asian woman with the dark hair. Yes, that's going to be a major, major problem. But here's the thing with Venus in Capricorn in the 12th house. Does that mean something's going to happen to her? Is this dark haired female? Is there something? Is she in danger? Because that looks like either she's in jail or she disappears. She goes bye-bye. That's right, Angel. She was in the charts a long time ago. Is this woman in danger? This Venus in Capricorn in the 12th house. Two of Cups. Yeah, it's the partner. And the answer could be yes. So we'll have to see, and darker skinned person. It's hard to believe that Kohberger would be involved with anyone, really, because he just doesn't seem like the type. Okay, she was allegedly in love with BK. Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, those are some charts for us to think about for the next few weeks. And I'm going to be on again, hopefully in the next week or two, to talk more about it and some of the updates. So thanks again. I'll see you guys tomorrow night when we talk about Missy Beavers. This is for members only. And I'll see you then.